I'm more or less concerned of somebody filing something against us saying that we're not able to help males or whatever. I mean, that's just a concern, especially, you know, in this day and age where we seem to be, no matter what we do, is not right. You know, even though we have the best interest at heart.
Right.
That's my biggest concern with this. You know, what are the legal ramifications, I guess? I think it would be one thing if that particular donor kept the money to themselves and asked us maybe for a list and they paid for it. I don't know how that works. But.
Yeah. Then you get privacy issues.
Right. So, like I said, it's I don't know. It's a concern on my end that if we start doing this and we can't take care of everybody that's a member of the sewer district, that we're opening ourselves up. And I hate to say that because I know those people that you've listed of before need the help.
Yeah.
But we can't afford a huge lawyer bill either. So I don't know if there's anybody out there, if the Maine rural people have any thoughts, or anybody else is willing to speak up that has more expertise than I do on this. And maybe my concerns are not warranted, but.
If you won't know, they are.
Well, no, it's, like
No,
I'm
not making light of it.
It's, like I said, it's a concern that I have.
Yep.
I mean, I wish I had $5,000 to help
It
people.
just does specify that to elderly and women. I don't
Right.
see why that
I would-
shouldn't, but.
I would hope if somebody contested it, that the press would vilify them, that individual, as badly as I feel vilified with recent articles in the newspaper, so. Yeah,
So I'm gonna start with, I'm not an attorney and this is not legal advice. My name is Brad Sawyer, I work with Maine Rural Water. If the issue that I see is the district holding the money, if this private individual would like to pay off other individuals' balances, there is nothing wrong with that. And they can choose whose balances they pay off, that's a personal decision. If there are individuals that are behind on their bills and they're comfortable with their information or some way that a benefactor could identify their account, even if it's just an account number and the word of the board that this is a person we feel you'd be interested in helping. The issue is the district holding the funds, not the funds going to the people. So I don't know if that assists, and I don't know how willing the benefactor is to kind of play this game with you guys, but.
well, that's interesting because none of us know who the benefactor is. But we can find out, because the woman who was on the board and then had to step down, the individual came to her, and I'm sure I could reach out to her. We could say we've assessed the need without providing names. We've assessed the need, we've identified 3 people with this amount of money needed. Do you authorize us to use your money to pay down the debt on these people? Does that seem acceptable without getting us in trouble? Yeah, go ahead, Kirsten.
Again, not legal advice, but I feel like the point at which the district holds the money, whether it be trust, escrow, then now you are caught in the middle of whether or not the donor's preference for payment is discriminatory or otherwise. Well-intentioned, obviously.
Right, yeah. Yes.
If you find out who this is and you give them the information without giving them the information of who the people are, but these are the needs, and you choose who to send it to. Not you guys, but the individual can choose. That would take all the legal problems away from the board.
That was what I was leaning towards. What, you were gonna say something, Vicki?
I got an email from legal.
Yeah.
There's no prohibition on third-party payments. In order to keep it anonymous, we can't create a public record. the cleanest way would be for them to come in person and pay cash for a specific property. A general donation to the district would have to be accepted by the trustees, and they would then have to separately authorize where the funds go.
The latter is where we're at right now, right? They provided us a check, we put it in a dedicated account. Who'd think it'd be so hard to give away money?
It is.
Question, does the district abate, do any abatements?
We don't have language in our charter for abatements. That hence the idea for the request to the town for a fund like this fund.
Cause we'll, like, we talked about general assistance earlier, there's when we do poverty abatements, we'll take that information, in the questionnaire, and use that as food for thought when making those decisions.
Thoughts?
I'm concerned if we make a determination to help certain people based on certain parameters, we're opening ourselves up. And I hate to say that, because I know these people certainly need help, but I'm sure if we opened up the search parameters, that list that you have.
But here's your check back, and we need you to submit a separate check or checks and identify what account numbers you want those funds to go to. Would that be agreeable?
I'm very okay with
I'm okay with
Go ahead.
that. I apologize for this. There was a law passed at the State House this past year that dealt with the release of customer information. And while I can't cite it chapter and verse for you right now, I would advise that getting permission from the account holders to share their account and just the ability to say that we're asking for assistance with these accounts. I would get their permission in an email or a letter, something you can show down the line before you share that their account is in arrears with a private citizen.
Well, I wasn't proposing we'd share names, I was proposing we'd just share account number, but you're saying we should contact those accounts and say, can we share your account number with this individual?
I would argue better safe than sorry on that.
Okay,
In writing.
I would argue in writing.
We have a form that we can share with
Release
you
of information.
okay.
of what that might look like.
We in agreement with what we've discussed, each proposed, we're gonna contact those individuals, seek their permission to provide their account number to the benefactor, the donor. Then we're gonna, with their approvals, then we're gonna contact the donors, send them back their $5,000 with a note explaining the situation, and I'll write that up. And provide them with the account numbers of the people that give us that approval. That sum it up?
Yes, sir.
I don't have a name to give that money back to, so I'm
I'll
gonna
get
have to
it.
just,
We're gonna research that.
okay.
Jenna knows who the individual is, so I'll contact Jenna and find out who to send money back to. All those in favor? Because that was a motion and a second, more or less. Wow.
So since you're pausing between topics, I think that it dropped. Is it possible to reset the streaming?
Yeah, it'll take me a few minutes.
I'm doing like a crappy job recording it on my phone to help, but
Okay,
When we heard that ping, we both checked.
that's what happened. It
yeah,
stopped.
it only, when you look at the video on YouTube, it only goes up to the 54-minute mark.
Okay.
Pay the bill. If the board would like to have a recess, I can set that up for you, if that's your wish.
No. He's gotta leave in 20 minutes.
Can you click on start streaming again? Will it start? No?
How to use it.
Okay,
You can try, but I don't think it'll work.
It's not
okay,
You have to
highlighted.
set up the link and everything.
okay, I'll keep doing this.
heard in the past about RCAP. This is Amanda Sparks, as I introduced earlier from RCAP. Amanda's wanted to just tell us about some of the things that she and I and Lori Stevens have talked about of what in the near term they're gonna be working on with us. Go for it, Amanda.
Thanks, Lachlan. Hey everyone, I'm Amanda Sparks. You mentioned I'm with RCAP Solutions. We're a nonprofit group that does technical, managerial, and financial assistance to small rural communities. I'm specifically a Maine community specialist, so I live in Scarborough and work with Maine communities, so we're helping out PSD with a bunch of different things. The first is a budget review and a review of the rates and just helping figure out where they stand financially. That's kind of what we talked about earlier. So we're going through that process right now, and we'll put together a report summarizing our findings. The second thing that we're working on is some board training. So again, like Lachlan mentioned earlier, we're talking about doing some a little board training before the next sewer board meeting. Just kind of give an introduction to what it means to be on a board, why is it important, what might be expected of you, to try to see if we can garner some more interest that way, to try to dispel some of the mystery behind being on a board. So once you guys set the next meeting date, we can get information about that out to folks. And then we're also offering training to the board members if they would like it on more specific matters, as needed and as wanted. And then the third piece that we're working on is a public outreach campaign for the community. So we want to try to teach the community of Vassalboro more about sewer and why it's important in your community. Again, to try to just like increase public awareness, maybe make more people aware that this is going on, maybe find some of those folks outside of the district, might be able to serve on the board. Yeah, just try to get the word out there.
So is that training would be available to non-board members, or would you need to be a board member to be part of the public outreach campaign?
So the public outreach campaign will be for anybody. Same with the board trainings. You can always sit in on those kind of things. But my ask today of this group, because I don't live in Vassalboro and I'm not as familiar with what you guys have going on, is what community groups could we partner with to start talking about the topic of sewer in the community. I know there's a community group that meets about sewer, but if there's other groups like that that wouldn't mind me coming in and giving a quick presentation about what is sewer, allow them to ask questions, stuff like that. If there's, I don't know, events where people set up tables and things that I could provide information and talk at. If we could get into like schools to do a quick presentation to kids about what is sewer, because that information usually trickles home, right? So I'm just, if anybody has any suggestions of things like that, folks that I should reach out to, I greatly appreciate it. And I don't know if anyone has thoughts now, but you can always reach out to me. I probably have a stack of business cards in my purse that I can give you. So yeah.
The Grange in East Vassalboro, they, a little bit of a hiatus, they meet in people's homes in the wintertime, but once it gets to be March, April, I mean, part of the education and rural life is part of the mission of Grange.
There is an East Vassalboro Village Association
Yeah.
that overlaps with a lot of those people that is planning a meeting in January or February. That might be something that could be on the agenda for that meeting group.
What's the contact for that, Laura?
Holly Widener. I can give you her email address afterwards.
Amanda, you're gonna have to find 5 new candidates.
I know, these old guys wanna be done,
Every time we talk about that.
so,
So yes, definitely non-board members, people that are just curious. And frankly, not just Vassalboro Sanitary District. The town of Vassalboro needs people, volunteers to serve on all kinds of boards. There's all kinds of opportunities to be involved in town. And we've got some boards that aren't full now, that are just operating with a quorum. So find your niche, be involved. So, some of the things are an hour a year. Some of the things are 12 to 15 hours a week. It's the whole gamut. But depending on what anyone's ability is and willingness to get involved, there's lots of opportunities. And this is a good forum to learn about that and what some of the responsibilities are. So it's good public education. Thank you, Amanda. So one thing we asked both RCAP and we asked Maine Rural Water about, was this whole topic of second meter guidelines, that we should have a policy essentially around that. So Amanda got back to me with different communities that have that language, that we can go to their websites and look at that, and then she provided a template of what something like that could look like. So I tweaked that, and I've got that for us to potentially vote on today. Or we can move it ahead to next month if you want to think about it more.
Is that classified as an abatement?
So
You didn't get me emails, did you?
I did, you didn't get mine.
Yes, I did.
So the question comes up, so somebody asked about an abatement on their bill, this was months ago, maybe a year ago, on their bill because of water use that didn't go into the sewer. And our legal people said you don't have abatement language in your charter, so no, can't do it. I view an abatement, correct me if I'm wrong, as something that's done after a bill's been issued. I think this would be an adjustment that is done ahead of a billing, and therefore not an abatement. So people that are familiar with the language and the distinction, do we need to change our charter to allow that? Kristen's shaking her head no. Amanda's shaking her head no. So you think adjustment and abatement are different? Okay. All right.
Would this be an agricultural adjustment?
What's that?
Would it be an agricultural adjustment?
Well,
Water used for watering gardens?
yeah, so it's lots of things. It's pools, gardens, livestock, anything that, we don't care what it gets used for, as long as it's not going into the sewer, is essentially what it was.
I had to drain my tank yesterday, 40 gallons, nothing to account for, I have my way outside.
Yeah. 40 gallons is 5 or 6 cubic feet. So it would have saved you a buck. So, but it adds up. So, so I'm pouring through this. Did I send you guys copies of that?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Man, I got too much paper kicking around.
Is it going to affect anybody directly, any of the customers, if we table it for the next meeting, and then we can get a chance to email it out?
It would affect people that have livestock. That would be, that'd be the one. It wouldn't, I mean, gardens and pools are not an issue at this point, so the whole livestock piece would be the primary one. Question?
Just food for thought. I know RCAP's working with you on your budget, but to be sure that you have reviewed the users that you would anticipate seeking a second meter, so that when you do your budget, you can anticipate the loss of revenue.
Yeah, good point. It'd be a wild ass guess though, wouldn't it?
I would look at usage from probably prior 2 years, because a lot of things will be cyclical. Gardens, et cetera, livestock is gonna be similar throughout,
Right.
pools.
Is this what you're looking for?
Yeah. So it's a one-page thing, so read, deduct meters allow customers to measure water that does not enter the sanitary sewer. For instance, lawn, landscape irrigation, vehicle washing, filling pools, livestock water, and receive a sewer charge adjustment based on that metered outcome. Who is eligible? Residential customers who are connected to the sewer system. Commercial customers without outdoor irrigation or process that demonstrably do not discharge to the sewer to be reviewed on an individual basis. Not eligible, any use where water could reach the sewer, for instance, indoor fixtures, equipment connected to drains. How to get a meter. First apply, complete the deduct meter application and submit it to the sewer district. And then install, the customer purchases and installs an approved meter on the outdoor water line. Must be properly installed indoors and or protected from freezing, and backflow prevention is required for irrigation systems. Schedule an inspection with the district by calling. Credits start after inspection and registration, and then how to get a credit. Complete a fillable form provided, which we'll provide on our website, and it'd be, the customer would fill it in quarterly. Credits will be applied to your sewer bill based on the amount measured by the deduct meter. Missed reports, no credit for that period, and then an annual fee of $25 to be billed. We question on what quarter to bill it in, but essentially an administration fee. And then Becky put together just what that form would look like on reading the water meter, your date, your account number, customer name, address, meter serial number, and what month you're doing it for, and the reading.
So in that, you're asking for people to report their own meter reading, correct?
That they can report their own.
Is there a stipulation in there for, maybe not a random audit, but an audit to make sure that they're not cheating the system? So that somebody could go in and inspect the meter and verify the numbers to make sure that they're not lying? You know, I'm not saying somebody would, but there's always that potential.
So Becky had, at one time in a conversation about this, suggested a picture. You know, nowadays, most people have a camera that can take a picture. So a picture of the reading, you know, could be done too. So, you know, we can move this ahead to next month and fine tune it with suggestions like that. Yes?
Do they come with a serial number on them so they could take a picture of that along with it? So you'd record the serial number and then you see what I'm saying?
That's right. Yeah. And we should, it says install an approved meter. We should specify what an approved meter is. Not a lot of extra language. Needs to be brass and needs to read in cubic feet. You can get them in cubic feet and gallons, and we report in cubic feet, so.
I would think you'd have to have ones that were approved by the crew, you know, you can't, maybe there's 3 that are approved by the district, and those are the only 3 that you have access to, just so that there's some semblance of normalcy.
Yep.
Because, I mean, there's gotta be, you also wanna make sure that meter is actually reading correctly too. So I don't know how that,
Calibrated.
well, yeah,
That's all.
so I don't know, I mean, I think there's a lot to it, I know it happens, cause But I had property in Waterville, that was the thing, so. We're gonna make sure they're working effectively, because this has potential to change the budget. And the other question, I think, the picture thing is great, but we have just been talking about elderly customers that may or may not be able to get into their basement to do such a task as well, so.
Yep. Okay, so we'll table this for now, fine tune this, and hopefully take action next month. Or gotta create a separate to-do pile. Okay, this may be the last one that we need to vote, because Dan's gotta leave in a few minutes. So, I had brought up the topic at the first meeting I was at in October about potentially selling some land that the Vassalboro Sanitary District owns. So it's off the tax rolls, that sort of thing. One is a 9-acre parcel that is, off of Tabor Hill Road. It's in the woods, accessed by a deeded right of way. And the other, that was a spreading site. And then the other is East Vassalboro. It's described in the tax maps as a 2-acre piece, but on the deed it's 1.7 acres. It's right as you're getting into East Vassalboro, right across from Massey's Mill where our pump station is there. There's a field behind there. In order to sell those, we need to get approval from Maine Rural Water would say yes, from the Maine Municipal Bond Bank. When we had our non-meeting in November, Brandy King was here, and after the meeting, I said, so what's the procedure to ask permission to sell land? She said, just send me a letter, do it right away. I'm like, yes. So the next day I sent her a letter, explained the 2 lots, and seeking permission to sell them. We as a board have not voted to do that. So that's the point of this discussion right now. I talked to a realtor about the potential values, because the potential value, when you look at the town assessed value, is not accurate. Because the assessor told me because they are exempt properties, when he does a reval, he doesn't spend any time reevaluating those. He just uses a figure that's there, he doesn't spend any time on that. So they'd be worth more than they show. The realtor suggested between the 2 of them, maybe $50,000 to $60,000 we would potentially receive from those. I submitted a letter thinking we'll get an approval, and then I present it to you guys, and we make a decision if we want to pursue it or not. So in the interim, in November, we had a phone meeting with the Maine Municipal Bond Bank, and the negative press that we are getting is not helpful, because they had the piece of paper, the woman, the attorney, had this piece of paper, and that request to them was indicative that we were in dire financial straits, and that there was like no way that they were gonna consider that, and she threw that paper down like that. The physical language was clear. Even though we tried to explain, this is just good business. We have land that we don't need. We couldn't sell the land before the project, but certainly the one in East Vassalboro, which has the most value, because it had sand filter beds on it. And then once the sand filter beds are gone, we don't need it anymore, but tried to explain that, and that did not go anywhere. So I am willing to pursue that, but I'm only willing to pursue it if we decide as a board that we want to proceed with attempting to sell those properties. Long explanation, but that's,
You said the properties were used for discharge of sewer years ago, correct?
so the one in East Vassalboro was where there was some sand filter vents.
Yeah.
And the one off of Tavy Hill Road was where solids were spread. The district used to have a little 2,000 gallon spreader truck, 1,500 or 2,000 gallon. And that was probably 30 years ago or more. Becky thought she had a report from DEP that they had assessed it for PFAS and got a note of that.
That was my next question, is are there potential forever chemicals on this?
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of industry in town, so.
Right, and so, you know, potentially, some people just like to own woodland or land, it's growing up to bushes right now. Who knows what people wanna own land for, but it's, it would put it back on the tax rolls of the town also, which seems like being good citizens is a district to me, so.
So, I guess, speaking of the first thing you brought up about solar panels and wanting to reduce our energy bills, in theory, you could sell the property and almost cover your expenses for your solar farm. So there would potentially be no loan needed.
There's a stipulation.
Oh, of course there is.
For the Maine Municipal Bond Bank to agree to our sale of that property, the receipt of the sale of that property all needs to go to paying our debt to the Maine Bond Bank.
Okay.
But yeah, I like the way you think.
So that it would go to principal, not payments, but it would actually go to reducing your principal.
It would go to reducing principal, is what I understood.
Well, then I think that I have a copy of the loan security agreement with RD, and there is language in your loan security agreement with RD that speaks to possibly needing permission from them as well. I brought a copy today if you wanted to see what
Okay,
I was
I'd love to have
referencing.
that, because what I had for an RD thing had no language about that.
Okay, do you wanna see the copy that I have?
I'll take it with me later,
Okay,
but,
well, you can grab a copy of it.
okay. So yeah, one hurdle at a time. So, one, do you want me to pursue it or not?
If there's no need for the sewer district to hold on to the property, then I don't have an issue with pursuing for it. Doesn't mean we have to do it, but it means we can certainly start the paperwork.
Okay. That was a motion, that was a second, all those in favor? Okay. Thank you.
I mean, I think you guys really need to get permission from RD and the bond bank though before, you know, like,
Yeah, but if we get permission from one, that's a stepping stone towards getting it from the other one. So, and I'm gonna work with Maine Municipal Bond Bank first, because that's possibly the hardest sell. At
have
least
you
so
worked
far
with
it
RD
is.
before?
What's that? Nope, but.
I would just guiding you, RD would probably be the more difficult entity to
Yeah.
obtain that permission
Okay.
from.
Right.
At least we'd be started in the right direction.
Yeah, great. You gotta leave.
I do. Do we have to be part of approving?
So I don't think we have
Depending on
anything
finance.
else that needs votes, do we? Do we have anything else that needs votes?
No.
Next meeting,
Oh, yeah, we gotta set our next meeting date.
We're doing monthly or quarterly or however.
We've been doing the monthly. Did you guys used to do it quarterly? You did it monthly always.
Which is fine.
Damn. Yes. So Dan has one of these, it's a really good schedule, but my son's a firefighter, and it's a firefight, what I call a firefighter schedule. He can tell you 7 or 8 months from now when he's gonna have off, but none of the rest of us can figure it out. Cause it rotates a day, a week, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
6-week rotation.
Yeah.
I see there's a handful, it's quite a, I would say, a successful crowd of people here today. Does the afternoon meetings work for most, or is this a difficult time for you folks to?
From the citizens group, I know that there has been people that have voiced that this time of day is a hardship. But obviously, if this is the time that works for you as a board member, then
we would have to go with that.
And as a parent,
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is the parent part.
Yeah, yeah.
Is being able to send my kids off to school in the morning at 8 and not have to worry about it till 2:30 is very helpful.
and he drives bus for their sporting events, so.
If we kept it almost exactly a month from now personally, the week of the 14th is probably the best date for me, but I don't know if we wanna try to set a regular Thursday thing, or if being a little flexible within the week is acceptable.
I can be flexible during the week, I mean, as to the day of the week, because I realize your schedule is not flexible as to the day of the week.
I gotta get up that day.
Jenna thought that she'd be able to rearrange her schedules, and I don't know if that's the reason she stepped down, but I think inability to rearrange her schedule may have been a factor.
I have the 13th, 14th, and 15th all available. And the week, for that week in January. And if you need to push it back a week, I have 19th through the 23rd open, actually, so.
So, you said 13th, 14th, and 15th?
Yep, and all of the next, well, Martin Luther King's the 19th.
So essentially 14th or 21st?
I'm open for both, whatever works for
Yeah.
both you folks.
Your thoughts?
Pick a number.
14th is fine, that way we stay within our 4-week kind of period.
Okay.
Time?
1 o'clock again, Dan?
As long as you feel that we can get our work done in an hour and a half, I'm okay with that.
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock, right?
Most of the time we should be able to. This time we have a lot of catching up to do. We're not all caught up.
It is currently saved in my phone. Is there anything else that we need to stay?
Is it gonna be here again?
It'll be here again.
We formal for, or do you want a motion for adjournment?
So people that know about this meeting, so he has to leave. We're not gonna vote on anything more, but there are still some other topics to update people on. Can we continue? I got a thumbs up in the yes, in the back, and that's all I needed. So, that's good.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you for doing
Thanks to all three of you.
So, Becky will be getting a hold of you about website stuff. Okay, I heard you volunteer.
Well, no, I will look up I think it was brunswicksewer.org or something like that was a recommended site to look at.
Okay,
I will spend some time looking at it.
all right, thanks. So there were 2 things there bulleted about website. Other topics to discuss. Nothing new on the manhole fix in front of Ferris's.
No,
Update on the installation of new pumps in the north. There was a communication about that just the other day, wasn't it?
yes. I haven't heard back as to when it was gonna start.
Okay, but it sounded like it was imminent,
Yes,
that they had the pumps.
yes.
So I chuckle about emails that communications back and forth, because Becky sent an email to the engineer, says, any update? The response was, no. That was it, that was the end of the communication. It was like, it was an answer, but it wasn't helpful. So, anyhow. Maintenance of 3 small pump stations, need quotes before jobs are done. That's one of the things I'd asked Chuck about. I gotta talk to him or email him again, sounds like.
Yeah, well, my thought is whoever takes over this position, if you go out or whatever, I think that company's gonna need some type of backup to go with that invoice.
Which invoice?
Any invoice that
Oh,
they
any
do,
invoice.
any
Okay,
invoice.
yeah.
I mean, I had one that, I got an email from Richard saying, cleaning three small pump stations. I says, when? He says, today.
Yeah, okay,
So,
right. Need to communicate with them some more. I think I got everything that I've got on the agenda in front of me. No, I don't. So two other things that came in recently was we'll have to vote on their votes. So water quality and compliance contract, we'll have to vote on that, and then the RHR Smith auditor contract, we'll need to put those for a vote in
okay.
January. We'll
Yep.
move those ahead.
Yep.
They're more or less probably procedural. You got anything else, Becky?
No.
You got anything else, Ray? No. Anybody got any questions? Yeah.
Of the total 60% increase that was initially proposed, what percentage are we currently at right now with the increases that have occurred to date?
Anybody know the answer to that?
No, I don't know the answer to that.
None of us know the answer to that.
So I did some data gathering,
Thank you.
and I did a spreadsheet with rates going back to 2010. And I looked at, okay, you're gonna have to hold this because I can't do both. So, and I just did this out of my own curiosity because I saw the question. So my math needs to be checked, but this is what I did. And then I did a 10-year span look at 2015 to 2025, and I looked at 2010 to 2020, just to kind of see. So from 10 years up to 25, the base rate increase was 175%, and the per cubic foot rate was an increase of 183%. So I didn't look at specifically the last 5 years. The rates really started significantly changing in 2020, so I think we've exceeded the 60% is the answer.
Is this the information that was posted online?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is out there on Facebook.
It is out there on Facebook.
Yeah, for those who have Facebook.
And that's both inflation and project, whereas I think Megan's question was geared directly just towards the cost of the project expansion.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a skew because
Yeah.
you've got two things in there and you can't really, they're intertwined.
Right. Well, and I looked at, because when I first started attending meetings, people were concerned about how much their bill was going to go up.
Yeah.
And so the two major factors in your bill is your base rate and your cubic foot rate. So I looked at those two individual things and figured out what the increase over time of those was. And then per the internet, and I have I use Smart Asset, I looked at cumulative inflation over the same time period to kind of get a sense of how that was. And this I don't have posted online yet because I need somebody to Santa check before I put out there. Cumulative inflation for the 2015 to 2025 timeframe was 35%, whereas the increase of the base rate was 175%. So some numbers to play around with.
And I guess the root of my question is, how much higher you guys going? Like, you said 60%, you know, when we started having conversations back around 18, 19, 20. And so I'm just curious from that jumping off point to date, you know, how much more do we have to go in terms of the rate increase?
So RCAP is working on a rate study for us now to help answer that question. I don't know when we can answer the question, but I know it's a work in progress.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. I think we should have a draft soon. I think some of the things that we've been talking about with asking the town for a contribution, or some of the things that we're talking about to bring the loan payments down, it's gonna help a lot. They are in a deficit right now, but I think there are things to figure out before we do rates again.
Because it's not imminent.
It is not right away, is that what you said?
It's not imminent,
Okay.
right? And it'll be a process once we start it.
You said you had a conversation with Winslow yesterday.
Yeah.
I posed a question to you by email.
Yeah.
About whether we're paying the quote unquote, what the contract estimate was, or whether we were paying what the meter said.
So I was gonna get there.
You didn't get that,
I
that's
didn't
fine.
get there. So I'll tell you. This was another that the recent press reports hurt us. The conversation went downhill really quickly when they said, "We hear you're in trouble." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" "Well, we're reading in the press about your troubles." But because more importantly, our council is reading in the press about your troubles. So they're even more disconnected than the town manager and the public works guy are. So then I'm in a defensive mode.
Yep.
So I didn't get to the question. I did get to the question of what about taking over the administrative role, that sort of thing. I even says, what about taking over the operations role? That was an emphatic no. The question asked and answered though, so, but willing to think about the administrative role. But then it devolved into, but we hear you're in dire straits. And so then I didn't get to ask some of those other questions that I want. You know, so there's some pertinent question, you know, just in conversation. The public works manager was telling me that they've got some significant upgrades to do on their system, which is gonna make their rates go up to us. So then that makes, you know, that's just, we're just delivering a product, granted it's a dirty product, and you're sending it across the river. What does your upgrades, why do your upgrades need to impact us? But that's an argument for another day, but certainly those are the things that you think of when you hear those things. But it's the same thoughts that I think of when somebody decided to run a pipe in front of my house and then charge me a few bucks every quarter for it too, so,
Yes.
you know,
Indeed.
it's like,
Indeed.
there's a whole lot of life that ain't there,
Oh,
so.
Yes.
but, you know, my feeling is we may be approaching this whole fiasco, not a nice word, from the wrong direction.
It's a fixable situation.
Yeah, because, you know, if you go online, Waterbill's paying not a fixed rate that I could find, but a minimum that each household had to pay. And their per cubic was just shy of 3 cents. So you either use X number of cubic feet and go over that minimum, or you paid the minimum. And it was like $54 for $58 a word or something.
Yeah, we're probably a lot more population.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're basically this is gonna sound real strange, a provider of raw material that the Waterville plant uses. And we're spending a third of our operating costs on less than a mile of pipe and 2 pumping stations. for Winslow. And I know that when this contract was negotiated, and it was negotiated as fairly as it could be, I would suspect, but there was a Winslow counselor involved. And I would suspect that that might be a contract we need to look at to renegotiate. Because like, I mean, it's less than a mile of pipe and two pumping stations. So, we should be paying for a percentage of the cost of running the pumping station and a per cubic movement cost and whatever Waterville's charging Winslow.
It's a double-edged sword, because while you might go backwards, it might also go up based on how long ago was that done?
Yeah,
I mean,
oh, I
you
realize that,
You
Rick,
take a
but-
chance.
It
Well, it
will
wasn't
go up
long
because of the
into
Jeffrey
the-
Brook project.
That was my point. I
It
mean,
wasn't long into it that it went up 25%. We worked out the price, they gave us an estimate, and everything was calculated for that, and then we got hit with a 25% increase we planned on. Now, we bought them a nice pump, generator, and down on Dunbar Road. All that, we paid for that. We upgraded their system so we could get on their system.
Right.
But we know, there's about, we had 9 pumps.
Yeah, I think so.
We had 9 pumps in all. in the town.
I noticed in the questions and answers that I think it was like 30% of the customers are still paying the drainage fee. And you mentioned that a significant amount of water that's going through the meter, or whatever's going through the meter, is potentially coming from sump pumps, and it's not equaling water in, water out. There's a discrepancy. Do that overage amount, does that extra cost get distributed among all the customers? It does?
So that's something I've thought of in just the last week or so. The direct answer is yes, kind of like that email I told you about, the indirect answer
Yeah.
is no. But I'll explain more. So we need to sort out, and Becky's got the numbers, essentially, of the cubic feet that we are sending to Waterville, to Winslow, but we have that gross figure that we provide to them. And then we have the figures from Kennebec Water District and East Vassalboro Water, and we need to see what the difference is. Pretty simple math. And then figure out apply the rate and see how much we're paying for that wastewater. Because right now we have 198 people that are on the sewer. It's 2 or 3 shy of 200. And 59 of them are paying the quarterly drainage fee. Now, there possibly are some of them that are just like, I'm not gonna deal with having an inspector come in my house and check it off, and it is what it is. But there are some people many people of that 59 that a sump pump is going into that, or a cellar drain is going into that. And so then we need to make the decision of, do we take that amount, we take that amount that we're paying for that waste and figure what it's costing us, and the $50 a quarter times 59, is that paying for that? If it's not paying for that, then we need to ask the question of, do we need to increase that $50 amount to those 59 people as a fairness kind of thing to everybody else in the district? I haven't done the math, but that's the thought process, to see if we need to do it. And it would be an incentive to some individuals to do something different, which would have a benefit for the whole rest of the district, because we wouldn't be sending as much through the pipe. So Thanks for asking the question, because I was thinking about it, but I didn't know how to bring it up. Now it's done.
So I'll ask another question in the same realm, is in previous meetings, it was discussed as far as things going in the drains that shouldn't, and it causes clogs at the grinding sites, whatever they are. And then it causes maintenance costs, which was in the tens of thousands of dollars, if I remember, because of, it sounded like one particular segment of the line, one grinding station was being hit more than others. Is it possible to then, because then everybody pays for that as well. Is it possible to investigate that further to encourage people to not do that?
Pretty hard to win. I suppose you could do DNA testing on diapers.
Well, I think they were able to, because of how the system works, narrow it down to, you know, a one street or one block, or I can't remember
They
the.
can put a camera in the pipe, and they've done that before, checking stuff out. But, you know,
That's a fun job.
I was just thinking the same thing. There's a job I want to sign up.
'Cause it's
Might
causing-
be better than treasurer.
In addition,
Yes, you can do.
You wanna follow up in a week?
in addition to the extra cost for the repairs, there was upgrades were happening, new equipment, new grinders that had a higher capacity were being purchased to deal with a situation that really shouldn't be happening in the first place.
well, we had that problem at the north, a big problem with that. Socks, diapers, teddy bears, everything came down through that pipeline.
Yeah, and it seems malicious at that point. If somebody's putting a teddy bear, or I don't know, it seems.
So, they kept changing cutters, kept changing, cleaning that out, and it was quite an expense when you see a truck coming here to pump that out so they can get in there. It's suited and they have air. I mean, that ain't cheap. And so the cost.
And it's usually
all
on the
that,
weekend.
We're paying for that. You know, someone being,
So,
kind
I
of.
noticed a hand.
Yes.
I think that rental person has moved out though, because I don't think we've had as many issues.
Yeah, it slowed down a lot.
Oh, good. That's good news.
Family moved out, you know, and it's like it slowed down. But, you know, so they wanna put in a bigger pump and a bigger grinder, and we had that in the garage for a year.
We still have it in the garage. Yeah.
All right, so we've had it for quite a while White and Tanner had designed to upgrade, you know, making everything bigger, but then they didn't have anybody to put it in. They couldn't get anybody to put it in.
Well, since that family has now apparently moved and the problem seems to have dissipated, maybe that equipment can be sold again or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So they designed that for a bigger pump, bigger grinder, and guess what? Our generator ain't big enough to power it. You know, this is what, so when they make a change,
Yeah.
there's a big generator down there with a fuel tank underneath it, and it's like, that's not enough generator to power that new, bigger machines.
Kristen, you had your hand up.
I did, but maybe now that you don't have teddy bears being ground up in your pumps, I guess my question would be, in terms of your sewer ordinance, which I know you had earlier, whether that addresses the negligence and or the individuals that are, if they can be determined responsible for that. I just want to be sure that you're covered, that you're able to recoup some costs and or there are penalties associated with that
Stay
type
with
of
me.
behavior.
Yeah. I have to prove it unless you
So-
got the camera right at that.
Destruction prohibited. No person shall maliciously, willfully, or negligently break, damage, destroy, uncover, deface, or tamper with any structure, apparatus, or equipment which is part of the sewage works. Any person violating this section shall be subject to immediate arrest. Page 20. But
I had
again-
some 3-year-old kids at one time. They were in big trouble.
Yeah, but you're not on the line.
No, and I own a snake.
Yes.
We also had one at one time, it was grease, a lot of grease. Plugged that cutter up, you know, nothing worked. I don't know how many times went to that one, countless times. And we sent letters out on that end, you know. They sent letters out to the other end. And everybody know that when this happens, we're all paying for this. You know. But but that slowed down.
So I thought of one other thing, I got it, just before I came over, I got an email from, I mentioned from Senator Bradstreet. And so he talked about the federal money, which I did the update on, but he also talked about the state money, potential for state money. And he said that what he's hearing on that is exactly the same as the business about $133,000, that until we get our full board operating within our charter, we're probably not gonna get any assistance from the state. I think that is probably the whole interconnection with state government and the main municipal bond main. So that just re-emphasizes that point that we gotta do what we gotta do it right, so. Anybody else got anything else before I say adjourned?
I have an email back from legal in regards to the meters.
Yeah.
Says the general concept applies, meaning that the district needs to adopt a policy that permits customers to install sub-meters in accordance with district regulations in order to reduce their bill. Does the district have a sub-metering program?
Probably not, so we gotta do something for a charter for that. Or if we vote on a policy, then do we have a program?
I will reach back out to her and find out.
All right, I hope it's as simple.
It says they have to adopt a policy.
Yeah, so
So-
this that we had was a proposed policy, so sounds like legal's great, but I hate it. I like to just do things that seem right. Oh, well. I think we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.